Hi, everyone. Welcome to Leaders Beyond the Stage. I'm Robin Wong, host of this podcast. Today, I'm very excited to have Carmen with me. And Carmen is the host of Asian Business Owners Podcast and a podcast producer as well. So her journey took her from a corporate executive in France to building a successful business in Hong Kong. Her journey is one of transformation, resilience, and learning through experience. Welcome to our podcast, Carmen.
Hi, Robin. Thank you for having me.
Well, as we know each other quite well, so maybe for the benefit of the audience, you would like to self-introduce yourself?
Well, you did it well. I'm the host of Asian Business Owners. It's a podcast for founders, with founders, by a founder, myself. I invite founders in Asia, Asian business owners, to tell their stories very authentically. The thing is that a lot of business podcasts are about the big numbers and the things that we see on social media. But what I focus on in the podcast is the real story and the reality of owning a business in Asia. So we talk about the small wins, the struggles, the doubts, the transitions, the pivot moments. And I think this is what makes it relatable to other founders and what makes it a real inspiration for people going through this journey of running their own business. So that's about my podcast and also my agency. So I do two things. I do podcast production. So I help people, anyone in corporate companies, to launch their podcasts, or if they already have a podcast, I also help them from defining the concept of the podcast, the identity of it, to production, and to what we call post-production, which means to then promote the podcast and get it online on all the podcast platforms. And the second thing I do in my agency is that I help my clients to grow online with social media. So we focus on content creation, but really strategic content to grow awareness, brand awareness, but also to, in a way, grow sales. So through awareness, then you grow sales using the Western platforms, so Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc., but also the Chinese platform, like Little Red Book, for example. So they are very different. And I work with a partner in Shanghai. So that's what we do.
Carmen is the one who introduced me to starting my podcast journey, and I was a complete beginner. So it's good. I mean, now it's my second series, and we are doing one with you.
Very good job. Yeah.
So can you tell me your journey from France to Hong Kong, and how did it all happen?
So I'm French, and I used to live in Paris for basically my entire life. And then I arrived in Hong Kong 3.5 years ago now. And when I was back in Paris, I was in corporate, working in a big global company, doing digital marketing. And I used to travel around Europe. It was a really cool job. But then after COVID hit, and I think it was a tough time for everybody and a time for us to, as we were locked down, working and doing nothing else, we just had time to reflect on our own lives. And I think a lot of people made big decisions after COVID. So then this is how it started, a little something in my head that actually, like a seed that grew over time. And then after 4 or 5 years in this company, I felt that I was no longer aligned with what I was doing. Something was off. And I was working so much that at some point I had burnout. It was very complicated after COVID. And then I just decided that I needed to do something else. And I wanted to move abroad to get a new experience. And as it wasn't possible to move abroad with my company, I just decided to move and see what happens. So I booked my flight for Hong Kong. And I had never been in Hong Kong before.
Wow.
And I remember landing. I remember the islands and the buildings, and I was amazed. It was the first time I was seeing this. I was like, whoa, this is very different from everything that I had seen before. And then I landed here and I told myself, okay, you can stay here for 3 months and then see if you like it or not. So I stayed 3 months and, met a lot of people and just discovered the city. And then after 3 months, I went back to Paris, get rid of my apartment, everything. And I came back, quit my job because I was working remotely for a few weeks here in Hong Kong. And then I quit my job and changed everything in my life. And then I took time to decide on what I wanted to do after that. I took it as a chance to start over, if I may say. And actually, I just realized that I didn't want to be in corporate anymore because I passed a few job interviews here in Hong Kong. And when you're doing something and you see yourself, like you're dissociating yourself and you see yourself doing this and you're like, what am I doing? This is not me anymore. And I had this realization and just stopped all the job interviews and started my business. So I started my digital marketing agency because this is what I knew,
right.
This is what I do and what I was doing before in corporate. So I thought, let's start there and then see, what it brings me. But the thing is that I quickly realized I didn't know anyone in Hong Kong. I had no network. And if you don't have a network, you don't have a business, right? So I was going to a lot of events, networking events, meeting a lot of people, because you have to do that when you arrive in a city. But it wasn't enough for me because I need more, like, deeper connections, meaningful connections.
Right.
And it wasn't, when you meet people at networking events, well, it's great to do that, but then you don't really remember people or they don't remember you. So I wanted something more. And that's when I started the podcast, because I thought that way I will meet founders, potential clients as well for my agency, and I will create a real connection with them. Because, for example, what we're doing now, when people tell you their story, you really create a bond between you and the guests.
Right.
And I love that. So this is how it all started.
You might have done very well, because I think at the time when I first started, listen to your presentation, actually in here, right?
Yeah, I was doing...
I didn't know much about podcasting at all, So after listening to it, I said, hey, maybe that's a good channel to... one is for my personal interest, and as you said, probably a good way to do the networking event and knowing more interesting people.
Yeah.
So, interestingly, because of all the places you could have chosen, you stay in Hong Kong for 3 months, right? And then over the 3 months, then you have decided to go back and then sell your apartment and do all this, right? I mean, it's a big decision,
Not sell. I was not owning this apartment. I was just renting it.
Okay, you gave it up anyway, right?
Yeah.
But there's still a big decision, right? To give up, you've been living in Paris for a while. What attracts you about Hong Kong, and what makes you feel that Hong Kong might be the right place for you?
Good question. Okay, so let's go back in time. The thing is that I came here because my husband lives here. He's been living here for 10 years. So just a little bit about this story. I'm not here to tell my dating life, but this is an important part of the story. So we met when we were students, so a while back. We were just friends at the time, and we stayed friends the whole time. But then towards the end of COVID, he went back to Paris after 3 years locked here in Hong Kong. He wanted to see his mom and family. So he came back to Paris for a few weeks. And then we used to catch up every now and then. So we just caught up and then started dating after 10 years of friendship.
Right.
And then as I wanted to move away from Paris and just move anywhere, I just realized, wait, this is the perfect opportunity. And I don't think it happened randomly. I think when you want something, it's like you put it out there in the universe and somehow things happened. So this is why I landed in Hong Kong specifically. But if it hadn't if it had been in, I don't know, New Zealand or anywhere else, I would have gone there anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I'm in Hong Kong now, because I guess when you're a founder, it's just such a great city to start your business, tax-wise, let's be honest. But not only that, I would say it's a very dynamic city. Things move very fast. You can meet a ton of people in one day. I just like it. I just like the intensity of the city. So sometimes you need to pace yourself because it can go super fast and just swallow you. But it's something that is very different from, I would say, France, maybe even Europe. Just things move faster. People make decisions quickly, so you can grow your business quicker, I think.
I see. Because something that intrigues me is that I also met a lot of Caucasians or expatriates or people trying to find work in Hong Kong or trying to start a business. And one of the biggest challenges, they say, well, it's very difficult because I don't know Cantonese. But you don't know Cantonese either, right?
No.
So you make a success of it, what makes you different?
I think if I had the chance to speak Cantonese, it would have been even better.
Yes.
But I think it's a very international city.
Yes.
I don't know the percentage of expat people here, but I think it's pretty high.
Yes.
There's also a big French community, a lot of people coming from everywhere. And I think that's also the power of Hong Kong, to bring together all these people doing so many different things. And also in my podcast, from all the guests that I had on the podcast, I met so many different people doing so many different things. Some come from Hong Kong, some come from other parts of Asia or from the US or anywhere. And I think that's what makes it so special here.
I see. I guess your podcast is kind of, in a way, focused to entrepreneurship, right?
Yes.
And you've been interviewing many successful founders of interesting businesses. Would you like to share some of the stories or something which you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, of course. I'm really fascinated by people's stories. I think you can learn so much from someone, from their stories. And it also, selfishly, it helps me. When you have a business, there are days that are pretty tough. It comes as waves, There are times you're up and then you're down. So you really need to be self-aware and aware of that and also of these cycles. And when I feel down, I think of these stories of these people who had the same struggles, who had the same ups and downs.
Right.
And I guess this podcast is all about is to feel less lonely as a founder, because you can be a bit lonely when you have your own business and a lot of responsibilities, and you have to basically handle things yourself. And sorry, what was the question?
Well, you have any specific stories? That you find that you think it's just particularly inspiring, interesting to share? Because you mentioned they all gone through their own struggle as well.
Yeah.
And I thought I listened to some of your previous podcasts. There were some stories about bakery. Was a bakery, that also skincare or something like that.
Yeah. Because I think when we relate through the hardships, through, you identify yourself with what the person has gone through. And yes, this story is from Alison Chan, the founder of Dear Harley. What she does is hyper-realistic cakes. So like a mic, for example, she would make a cake that would look like a mic or any other object. And she told me the story of her father, who came to Hong Kong from China. He swam from China to Hong Kong. And then he used to work in the fruit market for 10 years. And after that, he got noticed by a manager or someone. And then that way he climbed the ladder until a point where he started his own business, fruit business. And he was supporting his family with this. So a hard worker, super inspiring story. And now she works with her father because as she makes cake, she needs fruits.
I see.
And then they work together. And I thought, wow, this is such a beautiful story. And throughout all the episodes, there are stories that just stick in your mind. And as I said, when you need inspiration or when you a bit down, you remember these stories, and it's like they're all with me all the time, and it really helps me. So I hope it helps also other founders who listen to the podcast. But yeah, I did this episode lately where I gathered a few powerful stories that stick with me, yeah.
I see, yeah. I think what makes Hong Kong special, I think, might be the dynamism and the entrepreneurship. Is that long older days, there's a lot of similar story that people came down to Hong Kong with nothing and they have to really start to struggle. But then by willing to have the resilience and working hard, they make big successes, right? Do you think that this kind of spirit is critical for entrepreneurship?
This mindset?
Yes, kind of mindset, yeah.
Yeah, I think entrepreneurship is not for everyone. I think it can be glamorized on social media, with the big numbers and all the very famous entrepreneurs. But these people are very different. I mean, this is not the day-to-day of entrepreneurs. The reality is we do this for a reason, but it comes with difficulties as well. But I think every time you make a decision or you pick a direction, it comes with a set of downsides as well. You can't have the perfect situation. But I think the beauty of entrepreneurship is that it's a very self-introspective journey. It's like doing a therapy, but accelerated, like the speed is crazy. You learn about yourself, you have to be resilient, and if you want to just be mad, or if your ego takes too much space, then you'll quickly realize you can't work like that. So you have to be patient, resilient, to find solutions, and you have to like finding solutions, because you always have problems to solve all the time. And then if you are super stressed every time you have to solve a problem, then just don't do this. And I think as a founder, you need a community. You need to surround yourself with other founders because they get it. They understand what you're going through. And to surround yourself with your support team also. So if you have a partner or a close friend to talk to, it's super important not to stay alone, because in itself, it's a bit lonely. So you need other people to do that. Yeah, so it sounds like it's negative, but it's not. I mean, also you have the freedom to do what you love, to work with the people you want to. For example, I have clients and I stopped working with some clients because the energy wasn't there, and sometimes it doesn't click with some people. And when you're in corporate, you can't choose that. You have to have these colleagues or to work with these people. Whereas when you have your own business, at least you can choose that and really have the vibe and the energy that you need, actually.
I see, yeah. I think to share with you, because I've been probably in corporate most of my life. I actually got out of it about 10 years ago.
You can be very happy in corporate.
Yeah, of course, because all the fringe benefits and all the so steady salary, and you don't need to worry about when I'm going to get the next contract. Yeah. And really, that is a big jump, because when I was there, then you have also support. I had a secretary and everything's done for you. But then when you started out and you find that you're actually very vulnerable.
Yeah.
Okay. So how about you? How you find, is it very different from a corporate executive to become a founder?
Yeah, it's very different. When there are times when I don't miss my life from before. I don't want to go back in corporate. Maybe one day, I don't know. Never say never. But for now, I'm happy running my own business. But I guess the thing that I liked in corporate was to be part of a team. That's something I no longer have. I work with some people. I have partners. But this feeling of belonging to a company and a
Right.
team is something pretty cool. If you have the chance to be in a team where people are pretty nice. But overall, I would say you're outside of the mold when you're a business owner. Because most of people are around me when I was in Paris, all my friends and family, they are in corporate. And I think you don't have to think about the mental load is lower than when you have your own business. Because now my head is always full of, oh, I should do this, or oh, I forgot to do that, or oh, what about this idea? It never stops. At night when I go to bed, I close my eyes and then so many things in my mind. So
Right.
I need to write a note on my phone to put everything in the note and then go to sleep.
Right, right.
So I think, yeah, you have responsibilities. You have so many things to handle, to think about, to work on. But when you're in corporate, if you're a CEO, maybe it's different. But when you're an employee in a big company, you have to think about many things while you're at work. But then when you are at home,
You can
then you can switch off
Yes,
properly.
yes.
Whereas when you have your business, even when I go on vacation, because in Hong Kong, you have the chance to be not too far from many countries in Asia and it's super convenient to travel. But when I go to Bali or Vietnam or wherever, I'm in holiday technically, but not really. I can't stop everything, switch off my phone completely and just forget about my clients. I can't do that. And it's fine, I don't complain, but it's just that the work-life balance is just not a thing. It's just different. When you have your business, your work blends into your life and it becomes part of it. It's not just two distinct things,
I think, yeah. Well, I try to not to send you emails or WhatsApp while you're on holiday. No, I'm
That's
just
fine.
okay.
I learned the hard way
Yes.
that with some clients, if you're super responsive
Yes.
and you respond every hour of the day
Yes.
super quickly, then for people it's a given. For the clients, they think, oh yeah, okay, she's super responsive. But then it's my role to set boundaries for myself. And I learned that because I wasn't doing that when I started my business. I was like always responding super quickly, being everywhere. And then I felt like this is too much. So I learned to set my boundaries, and it's really healthy for my mental health. But yeah, it's also the beauty of entrepreneurship is that you never stop learning from all the mistakes that you do.
Yes, of course. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. So in that respect, you mentioned it's not really for everybody, right?
No.
So if, for example, if I want to thinking about starting my own business, right, and corporate, what do I need to think about really? What kind of advice you might give the person, or ask them self-reflect? Do you really want to do it? I mean,
I would say it's a very simple question, but why would you do it? What would be the reason deep down why you would do that? It's not just about, you don't need a groundbreaking idea or something like that, but it just needs to come from your gut. Because otherwise, as I said, you will face so many challenges that if you don't have this gut feeling deep down that you have to do this, then you won't overcome all the challenges. If it's just for money or if it's just for the sake of trying your business or anything like that is not enough. And today, growing my podcast that I'm starting to monetize as well, and producing podcasts for my clients and helping them on social media, this is something I don't want to stop that. And if I have to, I will I will try everything I can to find a solution not to stop running my business, because it's really something that now is part of me. And yeah.
very interesting. Yeah, I think that's great. Asking the why. A lot of people actually It strikes me a lot now that sometimes why I'm doing what I'm doing, and this is a very reflective question.
Many people don't ask themselves, why am I doing what I'm doing? They just go through life.
Yes.
And it's fine if they're happy like that. But I ask myself so many questions that I can't avoid this. But I think it's important to, at some point in your life, to just pause and ask yourself, am I doing the right thing? And am I doing something that is aligned with me? And I was forced to ask myself this question when I was in corporate and had burnout. It was inevitable for me to ask this question. And the answer can be scary. This is why some people don't ask themselves this question, because they're afraid of the answer. But once you have the answer, you don't have to do something right away. It can take years before you actually take action, because you need to feel it when it's the right time and you're ready to jump. Well, you're never fully ready, but yeah, so I think it's super important to stay just aware and not just see yourself going through life without asking any questions.
Very insightful, I think. And I will say in many respects, I do coaching as well. I've actually coached many executives or all types of level of people. And I think that is a really fundamental question that I find that people don't really spend enough time to really ask that question, why. And that's why they're doing a lot of times going through the motion, or they just think, okay, in the routines, and because everybody does it, and I don't want to step outside my comfort zone, And the people who can really have this drive and passion and vision in doing what they want to do, and they're strong enough, normally that will be the essence of success for them eventually, because they will overcome obstacle no matter what. And thank you very much for sharing this. What else do I want to ask you now? Do you have a mentor?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
She's Kiri Sinclair. She is the founder of Sinclair Comms. Sinclair Comms is an agency, a PR agency, PR communications. And actually, I wanted to have a mentor, but it's not something you ask, like, who wants to be my mentor? This is not how it works. But I had this in the back of my mind, and I wanted to have someone to not just help me, but guide me. And actually, Kiri was a guest in my podcast. And then we started chatting after the recording. And I don't know, little by little, she wanted to help me, and she offered to be my mentor. So this is how it happened, yeah.
So what has been the most valuable advice she has given you, or maybe?
It's not one piece of advice, but it's just that she thinks through a different lens. And I think it's very eye-opening for me to have a different perspective. And she sees things she's a very good storyteller, because she knows journalists, these kind of people. So she really helps me on this side, and she helps me to highlight my strength. And it's difficult when, I don't think about, wow, what are my strengths? Usually I think of how I can get better, improve this, grow. But I think it's good to be aware also of what I'm good at and my strength. Like she says that I'm very authentic, and this is actually something that is really a strength in what I do. And I hadn't thought about it that way. I know that authenticity is a part of my podcast, is really part of my podcast and what I do. And the fact that she highlighted that way, I was like, okay, it was eye-opening, yeah.
Yeah, that's so important, right? When you're doing things that I'll always like to be the devil advocate in a way, trying to, even though the person saying something it makes sense to me, and now I was kind of thinking of what if and how about that and what about that. So I think that's very important. Yeah, I also have, but I don't really have a quote unquote mentor. Yeah, I have many friends and network where I can always go for advice, and I feel comfortable and confident in them. So maybe there are many mentors.
Yeah.
But then, and a lot of subjects, anything I'm not good at, and I'll call them up. One other thing is that you are probably in the company for what, three and a half years now. On reflection, if you have to do it all over again, what kind of changes do you think you'll make for yourself?
Good question. I think it's good to make mistakes. So I wouldn't say, oh, I would have avoided this or that, because if you avoid mistakes, then you don't learn. And when you're an experienced founder, a seasoned founder, is because you made so many mistakes that you learned every time what to do next. But I think the one piece of advice that I would give myself when I started would be to trust myself more, to trust my ability to do things, to dare more. When I started the podcast, I recorded the very first episode. When I think about it, I should listen to that episode again. I would cringe over it. But I remember I was very stressed because when you hear the sound of your own voice, it's not very a comfortable thing to do. And I was stressed, and I didn't know the guest, which was easier for me because I could have distance with her. And also the fact that I'm recording my podcast in English, which is not my native language. Wow, it adds even more stress, when you're like, okay, I'm starting my podcast, what should I do? And I remember I prepared the questions before, etc. But I felt not legit. I felt that, who am I to start a podcast and talk about entrepreneurship when I just started my business, I felt like an imposter a bit when I started. But then quickly after, I was so in love with podcasting that slowly, episode after episode, I overcame this fear and this stress. But you're exposed when you do something. People can see you and judge you. And when you start, it's a bit daunting. But in the end, I'm glad that I kept going. And now I have close to 100 episodes. So now I'm more confident and comfortable to record. But yeah, I would tell myself, my previous self, to trust myself more.
Because I always thought your English is excellent, and I never thought that you would say, well, because I can't speak English so well as my first language, I have this imposter syndrome.
Well, it's not about speaking English badly, it's more to hear your voice in a foreign language. You just feel stupid, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, this is not something I want to hear. So it just adds even more,
Thank you. I think I can empathize with you because I think the first time I did my first podcast, you can see that I was so nervous, and I keep on repeating and then reciting, and I thought I was okay. But once they say, the camera say ready, and I just froze, and I just don't know what to say at all. And eventually I said it, but I just felt so uncomfortable. But I think that is a big learning lesson for all of us, right? If you're willing to step outside our comfort zone, willing to accept that you will make mistakes and not try to be perfect, then eventually you could become better all the time. And then that's the best way to grow, right?
Yeah, and I think also something to keep in mind is that we are very self-critical. But actually, the people who judges ourselves are just ourselves. But whatever you do, people don't judge, actually. They don't really care.
Yes.
Or if they care, they think it's great. But no one is going to, if you start your podcast or anything, no one is going to say, oh, this is very bad. You suck at this. No one will say that. The only person who will be so critical, I think, is ourselves. Because people have so many things to do in one day that they don't care. They won't spend time to judge you and get critical about you.
Yes.
And when you think about that, it's a relief.
Yes.
You know?
So true. Because really, it is still quite new for me, podcasting. Maybe if it's very popular in the US, and obviously now every in YouTube you can watch it. What do you see the future trend is going to be like over the next few years?
The trend
of podcasting,
Well, I think it's a growing market.
Yes.
And especially in Asia, because I think the market is not as mature in Asia than it is in the US or in Europe. So I think these are very crucial years now for the future of podcast in Asia. It's growing. I can see people launching theirs every day. And I think, it'll become a way to communicate, even from companies. I see more and more companies using podcasts to convey a message. That is, you have more control on what you say and you have more time to say it. Whereas in a commercial or an ad online, you only have a few seconds to grab attention. Whereas in a podcast, you have time to tell a whole story. And so people really understand what the company stands for, the values, etc. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how people use podcasts in the future. And for example, we saw that even in politics, people started to use it. We saw Donald Trump on Joe Rogan's podcast a while ago. Also, the French president was on a French podcast, and it was totally new. Before that, podcast was not something as mainstream, and I think it's starting to become a media really different from what we used to see before.
So if someone who wants to start a podcasting business or try something related to that area, any specific advice or tips you'd like to give them?
Reach out to me, of course. No, I would say have a really clear concept. Don't rush things. Don't start recording if you're not clear on what you want to do. So by that, I mean, if you can't explain your concept in 1 or 2 sentences, it means it's not clear in your head. It should be instantly understandable to people. So that's one thing. And then the other thing, think about your audience. Because people forget that, but you do a podcast to speak to an audience, not to speak just to hear the sound of your voice. So think about who you want to target. If you want to start a podcast about, I don't know, cooking classes or whatever, think about who you're targeting. Are you targeting cooks or are you targeting just individuals? Or just think about it, because then you will tailor your message and you will reach to the people you want. Otherwise, it'll be messy and you won't have a clear direction. So I would say focus on a clear concept and define your target audience.
Thank you very much. I'll try to remember that next time I do the next one.
I'll be here to remind you.
I have a friend who always been on the media, and he's so worried that how he looks. And every time he was being recorded, he'd all send me the tape and say, "How do I look? Did I do okay? Did I do okay?" And I said, "Oh, you did very well." But actually, people won't remember it.
No, and that, in a way, that's a good thing.
Yes.
Because we're not on the spotlight. Yes. But yeah, to come back to what you were saying, stepping out of our comfort zone, it's something that we keep hearing, Everybody talks about the comfort zone, etc. But who actually does step out of it?
Yes.
When I stepped out of it, I changed everything in my life, so I wouldn't advise to do that because it was a lot from a mental health standpoint.
Right.
It was very difficult, and I'm glad that I had very close friends. Without them, I don't know where I would be today, honestly. That's why you need your support team. But when you go through big changes, you really need these people. But if you step out of your comfort zone, you know that you're just extending your comfort zone. If you are stuck in this zone and then you try to explore more, then your comfort zone will become huge.
Right.
And then it's like a muscle. The more you are confronted to change and to learn new skills and things, then the quicker you will learn. You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely can empathize then. Are there any other key messages you'd like to share with us?
To the listeners?
Yes.
I think what I want to say is you have more power on your life than you think. I would say don't wait for the perfect opportunity. Don't wait for people to tell you, yes, now you have the permission to do that. Just do it. You have way more power than you think. You can do so many more things that, for example, you, Robin, you started this podcast, and I think it's really amazing to really put yourself out there. It takes a lot of courage to do that. And I think people should just take the control of their life and stop just going through it.
Thank you very much, Carmen. I think the conversation has been very inspiring for myself and hopefully for the audience. I think that as a coach or mentor myself to many people, I always talk about personal growth and try to about the comfort zone and how you can become the best version of yourself. But it's nothing more meaningful by talking to a real person and sharing their real experiences. And on that, I thank you, Carmen, very much.
Thank you.
So for the other people, if you're interested in what I do, please subscribe, give your likes, and give me your comments. What other guests you might like to listen from me in the future? So thank you very much.
Thank you, Robin.